Hi guys, and welcome back to Petrolhead Podcasts. The Tesla Model 3 has been the benchmark compact electric sports sedan ever since its introduction back in 2017, and it continues to sell well and feel modern nearly 6 years later. But its success has inevitably prompted traditional luxury car manufacturers to respond with worthy competitors such as the i4 from BMW and the Polestar 2 from Volvo. So is the Model 3 still the best compact electric sports sedan? Join me as I go through an in-depth comparison of the sportiest version of the three cars, the BMW i4 M50, the Polestar 2 long-range dual-motor with performance pack, and the Tesla Model 3 Performance. But before I begin, please like this video and subscribe to my channel to be the first to see more amazing content like this in the future. First of all, looking at exterior styling, the BMW i4 is the most normal-looking car of the three. This is because it is almost identical to a regular internal combustion engine BMW 4 Series Grand Coupe, and therefore inherits all of the highlights and lowlights of that car. The oversized front grille that does not blend well with the rest of the design continues to be controversial, and in my opinion, spoils the overall look of the car. But otherwise, the i4 is a restrained, modern, and sleek-looking sedan. I like the smooth surfacing of the car, the flush door handles, and the gently tapering roofline that creates a sportier and more minimalist design compared to the 3 Series on which this car is based. The rear three-quarter view is also good-looking, with the slim LED taillights that blend into the rear hatch looking very nice and the sporty-looking diffuser trim also impressive. Overall, I think this is a good but ordinary design, ruined by the oversized grille, and one that does not stand out as being an electric car. The Polestar 2 has an exquisite but understated look, with its Polestar-specific grille, Thor's hammer headlights, the floating A-pillar, and the crossover-like ground clearance and black wheel arches creating a look that is very distinctive, although it is hard to discern whether it is trying to be a crossover or a sedan. The individualistic design continues to the back of the car, with the full-width taillights in a unique U-shape being full of flair and design. I don't like the overall proportions of the car, which aren't as sleek as the other two cars here, and I also think that the side profile is a bit plain, but overall this is a good-looking car. Lastly, the Tesla Model 3 is, like the BMW, very normal-looking by now by virtue of the fact that this car is everywhere and everyone has seen one, thanks to the sales success that Tesla has enjoyed. Nevertheless, the Model 3 is a very minimalist and futuristic-looking car, with a smooth side profile, the Porsche-like tapered hood, lack of front grille, and the huge glass roof combining to give a very convincing design that has aged well. The rear three-quarter view is similarly great. Taillights that mimic the look of the flagship Tesla Model S, and the uncluttered bumper design very modern and effective. The headlights of the car aren't the prettiest, and remind of the 996 generation Porsche 911, and the overall roofline is a bit high and bloated for a sedan, but overall this is a good-looking car, albeit one that does not stand out much now. In terms of ranking the three cars for design, the Tesla wins because it looks like the iPhone of cars with its tech-focused, minimalist and modern design, although the proportions could be better. In second is the BMW. It has the sleekest side profile and a great rear three-quarter design but is spoiled by the front grille. The Polestar is last because although it is unique and has a cool Scandinavian vibe, the mix of crossover and sedan doesn't work well in practice and the side profile is very plain looking. Moving on to interiors, and the BMW impresses with a twin-screen setup comprising of a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster and a 14.9-inch central infotainment screen. The curved center display looks very modern and impressive, and the latest generation iDrive 8 operating system is very feature-packed and powerful, if a little hard to use for beginners. Surprisingly, the BMW is the only car here that offers wireless Apple CarPlay, even though this is a feature that has been around for many years. The center console retains BMW's traditional shift lever, unlike the new 3 Series, which has gone with an electronic shifter to free up more space. The general design of the cabin is a bit of a mixed bag though, with the very modern screen setup clashing with the old-looking air vents. Also, a downside to the interior is that all of the climate control functions have now been integrated into the screen, and the confusing menu layout makes it challenging to use on the move. But what cannot be faulted is the general build quality of the interior, with fit and finish all of a very high standard, and a solid and expensive feeling across all touchpoints that the other two cars cannot match. Overall, the BMW has a great cabin that is let down by some questionable design elements. The Polestar has a modern-looking interior, featuring a portrait-oriented 11.2-inch screen running Google's Android Automotive OS, and has a fully digital 12.3-inch gauge cluster. The screens are intuitive and the software very fast, although there aren't as many features as the BMW and Tesla systems. The piano black elements on the steering wheel and center console look great, but attract too many fingerprints. The interior is modern-looking and has good build quality, although it is not quite on the same level as the BMW. Again, like the other two cars, there are few physical buttons in the car, and climate functions are operated exclusively through the screen, although in this case they are less of an annoyance than in the BMW, due to the portrait-oriented screen and the placement and layout of the controls on the screen. Overall, a modern and unique-looking cabin with few flaws. The Tesla Model 3 has the most minimalist cabin of the three, and borders on being too simple. For starters, every single control of the car has been integrated into the central 15-inch screen, and there are no physical volume knobs, light controls, or even a separate gauge cluster. Personally, I find it annoying that the gauge cluster is missing, and this and the other emissions all force your eyes to leave the road for longer to find them within the central screen. Otherwise, though, the Model 3 has the most futuristic-looking interior of the three, despite being the oldest car here. The floating central touchscreen, the hidden air vents, massive central storage compartments, and the huge panoramic roof make you feel like you are sitting in a concept car. The screen itself is very responsive and has many entertaining features within it. It also receives frequent over-the-air updates that help it stay current. Build quality has been improved compared to early Teslas, but it still isn't a match for the bank vault feeling inside the BMW. Overall, the Tesla has a strikingly minimalist interior that unfortunately makes notable compromises in usability. In terms of ranking the three cars for interiors, the Polestar wins for its blend of usability and modern design. In second is the BMW, which has the best build quality, but unfortunately some elements of iDrive are not easy to use and the design is incoherent in places. In last is the Tesla. The Model 3's cabin looks the most impressive, but makes too many compromises from a usability standpoint to achieve this design. Looking at drivetrains, the BMW i4 M50 has a dual-motor setup delivering a combined output of 536 horsepower and 586 pound-feet of torque from an 81 kilowatt-hour battery pack. It accelerates from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 3.7 seconds and has an EPA-rated range of up to 270 miles, figures that are in between the Polestar and the Tesla. BMW claims that around 200 miles of range can be added from 30 minutes of DC fast charging. The Polestar 2 long-range dual-mode has a combined output of 476 horsepower and 502 pound-feet of torque from a 78 kilowatt-hour battery pack. It accelerates from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 4.2 seconds and has an EPA-rated range of up to 260 miles, the worst figures of the three. Polestar claims it takes around 35 minutes to charge from 10 to 80% using DC fast charging, equivalent to adding around 180 miles of range. The Tesla Model 3 Performance has a dual-motor setup believed to produce a combined output of around 470 horsepower and torque of 487 pound-feet from an 82 kilowatt-hour battery. It accelerates from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 3.1 seconds and has an EPA-rated range of up to 315 miles, both of which are class-leading figures. Just 15 minutes of charging will give the Model 3 an extra 175 miles of range, far quicker than the other two cars. Noteworthy too is the fact that Tesla's supercharger network is far superior to the charging systems offered and utilized by the other two cars in terms of ease of use, speed, and the number of locations. Therefore, of the three drivetrains, the Tesla Model 3 one is clearly superior to the rest and the best of the three. The BMW i4 M50 has the second best powertrain and is an impressive effort considering this is one of the first EVs BMW has produced. In last place is the Polestar, with the slowest charge time and acceleration and the lowest range of the three cars. In terms of driving experience, the BMW impresses with rapid acceleration rivaling the Model 3's, combined with strong brakes and great suspension that have been tuned to near perfection by BMW's engineers. There's very little body roll in corners and the car changes direction very well despite its mass. The car also rides very well when using its comfort mode and makes for a relaxing cruiser. The steering is also very accurate but slightly lacking in feel. Overall, a fantastic car that reassures BMW enthusiasts that none of the brand's reputation for building ultimate driving machines has been lost in the translation to EVs. The Polestar 2 is slightly less accomplished than the BMW. For starters, the default ride is too firm with the Öhlins dampers, and adjusting the damper settings is not done through controls in the car, but rather requires manual adjustment for each individual unit, an overcomplicated process that limits the car's appeal. The car steers well, but is lacking in steering feedback. The Brembo brakes are firm and responsive, and the car feels reassured and planted on highway roads. The Tesla Model 3 Performance is also a good car. It has direct and responsive steering and good handling, but is ultimately not as agile as the BMW. It also suffers from excessive road noise and suspension does not deal well with uneven roads, owing to the mass and large 20-inch wheels. Overall, for driving experience, the BMW is first, being very similar in feel to the very best internal combustion engine BMW sports sedans. In second is the Polestar, with a similarly well-balanced driving experience but let down by the ride with the Öhlins dampers. In last is the Tesla. It has good handling, but is ultimately not as refined of a driving experience as the other two cars. In conclusion, which is the best compact electric sports sedan out of the three cars? Personally, the BMW i4 M50 is the best all-rounder for me. Yes, its looks are divisive and some elements of the interior look dated, but it more than makes up for it with the best driving experience and feels the most luxurious, with low noise levels, the best build quality and materials, a comfortable ride, and a strong powertrain that is very competitive in the market. It also is the most normal car of the three, with no need to compromise with things such as not having Apple CarPlay, or any of the quirky elements of the other two cars, such as the crossover look of the Polestar or the lack of gauge cluster in the Model 3. In second place is the Polestar. It has the best looking interior and good driving dynamics. It is let down by the drivetrain, which is the least efficient of the three, a ride that could be improved, and a weird manual adjusting damper system. In last is the Tesla. It has the most accomplished drivetrain, great exterior design, and the most futuristic interior, but is let down by build quality, ride and noise issues, and the lack of many essential elements in the interior that make the car frustrating to live with. What do you guys think of this conclusion, and what are your thoughts on these three compact electric sports sedans? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, please like and subscribe to be the first to see more amazing content like this in the future. Cheers.